Atlas in the hot seat tonight.
And Atlas.
Goes by the name of Atlas the Bookkeeper. How you feeling, my friend?
Okay, our next news story, this is actually our last news story of the day, is actually a positive one, a crazy positive one. And the hilarious part about this story, about FromSoft, is because directly juxtaposed with the story we just did that Ubisoft is failing and is looking to sell to Tencent. Here's, on the flip side of that, here is FromSoft. FromSoftware announces they are increasing base employee salaries by 11.8% in April of 2025. The starting salary will go from 260K to 300K yen monthly. We're working towards stable income and a rewarding work environment where our employees can apply themselves to development, right? Wait a minute. I don't understand. I'm very confused. When I'm listening to all the other game developers, they keep saying the industry's in a downward spiral, right? Oversaturation, over expectation from the gamers. No one's satisfied with games anymore. It doesn't matter what they say and do or what they try to make. Their games just aren't selling anymore. They're the disaster, doom and gloom. The sky is falling. End of the world. Bad times. We got to get out of this industry. We got to sell. Microsoft says we're not even going to care about consoles anymore. We're just going to try to put everything out there on the cloud. You know, Ubisoft wants to sell to Tencent. Everyone's crying. Right? Oh, it's a terrible industry. Awful. Then why is FromSoft succeeding, winning, and increasing their salaries? Right? So what's the direct difference between FromSoft and everyone else? Right? We should think about this. Well, number one, does FromSoft pump out slop? Have you ever played a FromSoft title that felt rushed, felt like it didn't have that awesome control and attention put towards it, right? Do you ever play a FromSoft game and you're like, man, this was just a cash grab? You could tell they just pumped this fucker out to print some money, right? Did you ever play a game like that from FromSoft? I don't recall one, right? Did you ever see annual releases from FromSoft to the point where there's so many games coming out that it's hard to care about them all because it just feels like they just phoned it in rather than made a whole new game, right? Even the games that FromSoft make that people don't absolutely love are still good. For example, Armored Core 6 last year, right? People didn't universally praise it, but in general, people still liked it. I have never played an Armored Core game before. I liked it. I wasn't in love with it. It wasn't my Game of the Year contender, but I still really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good outing and it was worth my money, right? But that's the difference between FromSoft and everybody else. Everyone else said, we need to make money. We have to figure out how to make money first. Then we worry about the actual products we're pumping out, the quality, the cultural relevance, everything. But the money has to come. With FromSoft, every time they sit down, they say, we got to think of a really great game concept, right? And yes, a lot of their games have very similar concepts or shared concepts, but they want to make sure that what they're putting out is something relevant, something good, and something that their core audience is asking for, right? You had Elden Ring, big-ass game, add some new content in there, expands upon the formula that previously existed in FromSoft, namely Dark Souls, give the people what they want, and give them a hell of a lot of it. People couldn't believe the amount of content that was in Elden Ring. Now, personally, I was critical. I did feel like a lot of it felt like it was too reused and padded. But still, the quality and the quantity was there. All right? Then you wait 2 years. And then finally, the expansion comes out. It's huge. It's valuable. It has new kinds of weapons, new kinds of bosses, reimagines parts of the game, new lore added. It's something everyone wanted. Did FromSoftware, 6 months after Elden Ring, pump out a DLC pack that just added some skins and weapons and that was it? Did FromSoftware have some kind of a subscription-based plan for Elden Ring where you would pay them monthly for season pass content? Right? Did they pump out 5 games within 2 years so it's oversaturated the market so much that no one cared about the next FromSoft game? I mean, here's the thing, is that these practices aren't rocket science. They're just not considered modern, right? The modern practice of Get me that season pass. Get me that games as a service model. Get me 1 million DLCs. Get me the rush game. That's relatively new. This didn't even exist until 5-10 years ago, because now the internet can support it, can support that level of distribution of digital content so frequently. Before that happened, these game developers had to work hard because they knew that what they were selling you was a retail disc, because now that's pretty much gone away, but they were selling you a retail disc. This was your product. You were going home with it, and you were going to have to be happy with it because you weren't going to get anything else for a long time, right? So they had to be sure that product was polished, that product was good quality. You know, it had to hit on all levels to try to get good review scores, get the word of mouth out there, and people would then buy the game. Today, because everything's instant digital gratification, these game developers have felt like they don't have to work like that anymore. Oh, pump out that piece of shit. Who cares if it works at launch? We'll just patch it after the fact. Just push it out so we get the initial pre-sales. Dude, how fucking hard do game companies ask for pre-sales now, right? Like every day. Be sure to pre-order. Be sure to pre-order. Get the hell out of here. What do you get for pre-ordering a game? Nothing. There are no physical copies anymore, or very few. Everyone gets it digital. Why would you ever pre-order a digital game? It's so confusing. But again, it benefits them, right? Oh man. Anyway, the way that I see it here is more companies need to look at what has worked in the last 10 to 15 years. Don't just look at the last 5 years. Because the problem is these companies are looking at the kind of exceptions to the rule. They're looking at GTA Online. They're looking at Fortnite, right? They're looking at these games that were kind of the exception. Even Epic Games didn't think Fortnite was going to be a big success. It was supposed to be a tower defense game. It wasn't until they jumped on the trend real fast and changed it around to be a battle royale game that it actually caught on with a kid-friendly audience, right? So these are not things to be taken as, here is your example of what to do to be successful. Instead, they have to go back to look at the tried and true successes, the companies that, you know, have big track records of why are they known as some of the biggest companies. Take a look exactly what FromSoft is doing. Only release a game every 2 to 3 years. Make sure that that game is polished and full of content. Give the people what they want, including the fan service that they're craving, right? Then don't shove content down the throat. Don't nickel and dime the customer. Instead, give them meaningful expansions after the fact to hold them over until the next big FromSoft release comes out. I mean, right now, just think about how crazy this is. We know FromSoft is making a new game right now, correct? They're not just sitting there with their thumbs up their butts. They're making a new game. What game is it? We don't even know. We have no clue what they're cooking. Is it more Elden Ring? Is it Dark Souls? Is it Bloodborne? Is it Sekiro? Is it a totally new game franchise? We have no clue. But you know what? We don't need to know because they have a great track record. So it doesn't matter what they're making. People are still going to want to buy it and play it. Ubisoft, Bungie, Xbox, right? They've lost their name notoriety. EA, oh my God. EA, they have lost the ability that people will trust every game they put out because they pushed out too much slop for profit. They nickel and dimed too much. They got too greedy, right? They kept going for more. And when they did that, public trust degraded down to nothing. And now, when these games come out, people don't buy them on trust anymore. Gee, maybe if Ubisoft hadn't put out so many pieces of shit, someone might have bought Skull and Bones, right? But because they put out so much garbage, people don't trust the games anymore, and that all these ones that are flopping, right? FromSoft has not had a flop. Think about that. There's not been a flop. Their track record has been pristine for over a decade, and it's hit after hit, banger after banger, win after win. That's why they can give their employees across the board rewards. That's why they're a great company that everyone is applauding. This is why. It's not hard to figure out. The problem is, again, there's an entire echelon of people, a group of upper crust of people who don't think they have to have any accountability for their bad decisions or actions. So They don't even think that, oh, let's use FromSoftware as our example of greatness and try to emulate them. They just think, oh, well, we don't know what we're doing. I guess we'll just keep failing miserably and then go out on our golden parachutes, and then maybe we'll sell the company off and get a big payday at some point. Like, what? What the hell? That makes no sense to me at all, but that's how it is. So I'm happy to hear that FromSoft is doing great. I seriously am. But what's sad is that no one seems to understand that it is not a flopping industry. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to explain something to you right now, okay? Video games are at a record high. Video games have more players than ever before. They're making more money than ever before. It is the most profitable industry in the world. It makes more money than movies, music, TV, and all other entertainment mediums combined. That's how big video games are. To have executives of video game companies coming out and saying, oh, we're in a slump, we're in a downward trend, is madness. It's the ultimate copium for their ultimately bad decisions. They're the ones who ran their companies into the ground, and they don't feel like they ever have to have responsibility for it. Why? Because they're so fucking rich, they've never taken responsibility for anything their entire lives, so why start now? They seem to be protected from any kind of repercussions, so why would they admit, oh, it's our fault, we screwed up? They have people in the same exact industry releasing games that are doing well and making insane profits, and the companies are expanding and rewarding the employees. Why is it that they can't do the same? Because the fucking management sucks. That's the only reason. FromSoft should be applauded, and all these other companies that are failing should be derided and called out. The management needs to be upped the fuck out of there and get people with brains who understand the gaming industry in charge before it's too late. Do you want to see a gaming crash because these companies are so greedy and idiotic they don't know what they're doing? You know what I mean? Listen, industries thrive when there is competition. Understand that. We need to have EA, Ubisoft, Bethesda, Microsoft Game Studios, Santa Monica, Rockstar. We need to have a lot of game studios, because if we don't, there's no competition, there's no innovation, they'll all just get stagnant, right? And now that you're here, Ubisoft wants to sell, and this company is failing. Xbox wants to get out of the games game. It's like, what? No, stop. Instead of that, fire the fucking people who suck and get people in there who know how to run things. I don't understand why they wouldn't get people who are like previous game developers or heads of game studios, or people, there's people out there who are intelligent, who could do things right. Why do you get the people who are dummies in charge? It's mind-numbingly stupid. But maybe what it is just total ignorance. Everyone is just so ignorant who controls these companies, they don't even understand what's going on, right? I don't know. It drives me nuts. I love video games. It's my job as well as my hobby, right? I'm a 16-year gaming YouTuber and climbing, because now actually we're heading into year 17, if you can believe it. September was my 16th anniversary, so now we're heading into my 17th year being a gaming YouTuber. And to see the industry acting like this, like little babies, and, oh, the industry's falling apart. No, it's not. You're just an idiot. And you just will not account for the bad things you've done, right? But then FromSoft's doing good. So there's the thing. If there was no success stories, then you could argue, all right, well, I see what's going on. It is the industry that's falling apart. But there's there's success stories. So it ain't what they're saying. That's their cope. That's their copium for the bad things they've done, and it needs to change. I don't think that Ubisoft selling to Tencent is the solution here. Just saying. Okay. Well, folks, I've covered the topics that I wanted to cover here on the podcast.